Fox Sports Radio, Wisconsin. Drew, Billy, and Armin bringing it to you from headquarters. We're entering the home stretch of our program today, which begins at 5 and ends at 8. And on Mondays and Thursdays, it includes an appearance by our good friend Hunter Baumgardt, fresh as a daisy after a night at the ballpark and getting ready for a matinee today. Hunter, welcome back to the Huddle.
Yes, thanks for having me, and fresh as a daisy indeed. Oh, that was a gut-wrenching one last night.
A tough loss.
Yeah, cookies.
We were looking at the positives, though. The silver lining was Miz being just sublime. 7 innings. Hunter, we've never seen anything like that with a guy. His 93rd pitch was 103.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those where you look up and you say, he really just hit 103. We're looking at each other in the press box there, just absolutely dialed it up, and you thought, oh, no, he's okay. That was the last pitch of the night. And then he comes back out for the 8th. Of course, he has the cramps and doesn't pitch in the 8th inning. But he ties his career high going 7 innings. He's got the most games with 10 plus strikeouts in the majors right now at 4. I mean, he's got the most strikeouts in the majors right now. We talked about, what his ceiling could be the other day earlier this week. And it just, I don't think you can put one on him right now because it is just so dominant what he's doing. And against really good lineups, the Yankees and Padres have some of the best hitters in ball when you look top to bottom at these lineups, and he is just mowing them down.
What do you hear from different guys in the clubhouse, right? Because when they see him on a daily basis, we almost, Armin joked about it, like you can almost get just used to the greatness and the ability. But when the guys that see it every single day and see the bullpens and they still are astounded by it, it seems like that kind of, those words ring even more important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the starters have talked about it. The bullpen guys have talked about it. Just kind of how special he is. I know Yelich talked about it last year and saying that it's amazing to come out of the gate like that, and hopefully he can sustain it. Well, he definitely has sustained it. He's almost a year into his major league career now. June 12th was his debut last year, and since then he has the best strikeout per 9 inning rate of anybody in baseball since that June 12th date of last year. I talked to Andrew Vaughn yesterday, and I'm like, do you find yourself like peeking over at the velocity or the miles an hour that's going up on the scoreboard? And he's like I can hear it when it hits the glove. He's like, I can tell right when it hits the glove what it sounds like and that sort of thing. So it's those guys know, and they love playing behind him because they know they obviously are going to have a good chance to win. And obviously they're not going to have to do a lot of work with the amount of strikeouts that guy gets. So that's the thing. It's just it's a dominant performance, and the guys around him I think there are some guys that are in awe. They've seen a lot in baseball. Those guys have played a lot of baseball, but this is a different level of dominance.
I also love that he triggers people because of just like who he is. Bob Nightingale put out a tweet, guys, last night. He's like, don't think anyone's going to be complaining this time when the Brewers ace finds his way onto the All-Star team. And then the first 2 comments are from Cubs accounts. One, gotta hand it to the nerd. He's literal fire lately. Annoying, but cool, but also annoying. The next one, it'd be really cool if he wasn't such a dork. Like, I do love the fact that he's a little bit nerdy, a little funny, a little quirky, but he's got a weird boyish charm that has to be so deflating when you're in the batter's box and he's pumping 103 at you. He's like, it's fun. It's fun. Like, he's got that little giggle that I understand why opponents would be like, I hate this dude. I can't stand how good he is and how annoying he can be.
Totally. It's like it's some of those, I don't think it's to this extreme, but obviously some of those players in sports that you love when they're on your team and you don't love when you're facing them. I think obviously that's a part of this talent wise, and obviously batters don't enjoy facing Miz. You look at Jackson Merrill's reaction last night after his first at bat, like, I don't know what in the world I just faced, but I'm going to have to do it 3 more times or 2 to 3 more times tonight. Fernando Tatis Jr., who goes 2 for 2 in his first 2 at bats against him. And then his 3rd at bat, he strikes out on 3 pitches. Like, it seemed, the great thing about Miz last night was he seemed to get better as it went on. Retired his last 14 he faced, those 1, 2, 3 innings. He went 8 pitches, 7 pitches in the middle of those innings. And it just was so efficient late in the game. And that's what we saw against the Yankees. I mean, dialing up those high speed pitches late in the game. And that is, it's one thing to do it early in the game. Jeff Passan tweeted it out last night. He's like, we've never seen someone just sustain this throughout 6, 7 innings.
That's the thing.
And that's exactly what he did last night when your last pitch is 103 at the 93rd pitch in the 7th inning.
the sustaining of it. It's not just like reaching back a few times. It's the sustainment that's not a word, but the sustaining of that performance is the most incredible thing. And, in the back of your mind, you're always worried about, okay, the wear and tear and those things and injury. I don't want to be an Eeyore. We talked about this earlier, to just expect that it's going to happen. However, it's got to make you think like the most important for them as a staff, as a unit, as an organization is to find the right way to maintain him and maintain his health when he's doing stuff that not many humans have done.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think it's in the back of minds of so many Brewers fans. It's like I don't, we haven't seen this before, so how is his arm going to hold up? But I don't know. I mean, he's kind of a freak in nature anyway, so maybe that lends itself to that being beneficial as he moves forward in his career. I do think the cramp thing, they do need to at least take a look, and they will. And Pat Murphy alluded to, they've got the people in house that can figure that out. Not so much that the cramp is an issue, but if he, starts to feel that in it's 2 out of 3 starts now, and if that starts to become something. Not just that he has to exit the game, but also how does he maybe adjust how he's pitching then due to the cramps, and does that cause some sort of other harm that you don't want? So I feel like that is something that, and it's not like a severe injury or something that is even going to make him miss a start, but more so something that they should keep an eye on just to make sure it doesn't affect something else within his body.
We are chatting Brewers with Hunter Baumgardt, our go-to man. He will be at the ballpark today for the 12:40 first pitch, and then hosting Milwaukee's baseball tonight at 6:00. Hunter, one of the things that struck me last night, we had a 3-hit performance by Rengifo, who is no longer the mayor of Slump City. I think Ortiz maybe, or Mitchell. And I'm getting a vibe. People are mad at Garrett Mitchell. I know you've been one of his bigger fans, but Frelick isn't exactly setting the world on fire either. Couple of knocks for him yesterday. What's it going to look like when he gets hot? Because he has not yet, nothing close these first 2 months.
Yeah, he's not looking like he was last year so far. I think the offense just continues to get deeper if he gets hot. Same with Garrett Mitchell. I mean, Mitchell started the year really well, but yeah, over the last month or so, it just has not been good. What worries me about Mitchell is the strikeouts, and that is just, that is just killing him right now. And so obviously that is something that everybody's watching and that he's trying to rectify. The Sal Frelick thing is, like, I believe that he can come out of this. I think we've seen the player that he is, and he's not going to hit 1 million home runs, and it's just going to be find a way to get on base. And I feel like he's starting to do that a little more here in these last few days. And I think honestly, getting the guys like a Churio, a Vaughn, a Yelich back is going to help all of these guys because of the pitches they're going to see. So maybe that helps going forward. But yeah, I think Frelick and Mitchell are, Ortiz is what Ortiz is at this point. Like I think we know what we're getting, but with the guys like Mitchell, a guy like Frelick, you know what's in there, the talent that's in there. You've obviously seen it with Frelick. You're wanting to see it consistently with Mitchell throughout a season. I like that they're continuing to get Mitchell every day at bats. I mean, that's what I was calling for in the beginning. For better or for worse, you should see what you have during a season with Garrett Mitchell and see what he can put together in 162. Absolutely. And then if you need to judge off of that, okay. But I do like that he's continuing to get at bats because I don't think they have a better option at this point. Blake Perkins has struggled at the plate. Obviously, he's good defensively. I thought it was notable that they put in Blake Perkins in the 9th inning yesterday defensively instead of Garrett Mitchell.
I was managing along, and I'm like, I wonder if they'll hook Churio, because if the game goes extras, you want Churio in there. But if they took Churio out for defense, their best outfield is Frelick, Mitchell, and Perkins in some form or fashion. And I'm wondering, is that because like he had the misplay the night before? Like I was wondering what the deal was with that.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, you could kind of see that. You could kind of see, he did make a throw. I think it was a one hop on that, trying to double off at first base, but it was a hard throw. It was a good throw. It was on the money. It just barely missed. That was the Tatis, I believe, the Tatis slide where he slides into Vaughn and they collide over there at first base. But yeah, I was usually we'd see sometimes a defensive replacement for Churio there. I wonder in a 1-0 game, since it was so close, they're like, yeah, we want Churio still in that lineup. And obviously he's been hitting better than Garrett Mitchell has. But I think the misplay in center field and some of it doesn't fully feel Like just seeing Garrett Mitchell, watching what he does, it doesn't fully feel like he is necessarily back to that fully aggressive center fielder. Like you still are seeing maybe that play where he's worrying that misplay in center field almost looked like he was worrying a little bit about the wall. And I haven't talked to him about this. Maybe I will, either today or in the coming homes, just to see how he's feeling about that, because it's one thing to obviously come back from an injury. We heard about how he was going to slide differently and dive differently and things like that. I just wonder how much he's thinking out there more than just going out and playing. And I wonder if that's having an impact on his center field.
Watching Lockridge go into a wall, maybe puts a little
cautionary tale after I watch my.
And I don't care who you
lose
are.
A leg.
If you've been as hurt as much as Mitchell is, and you're doing everything you can to avoid it, and you're gotta be fearful a little bit in the back of your mind, like, I just got to protect myself and try and maintain health for a while. Yeah. It's not the right way to go. I know it's not the right way to play, but I can't blame his instinct for that. Also, Murph is the type of guy that would be the manager to sit him down a little bit if he makes a mistake, to kind of not punish him, but he did that with Durbin last year, if you remember, for a couple games. And Frelick, it's like you got to stay focused. So that might be something he's doing a little bit to try and motivate a little bit.
It'll be interesting. Hunter, as much as we're raving about Miz and his outing, there's a guy that only gets noticed when he gives up runs and stuff. Ashby was filthy last night, to the point where I wondered, they had Uribe up. It's like, I get it. He's the closer. But, man, had to be tempting to send Ashby out there for another inning because he is filthy, man. Miz's stuff is like, we've never seen. But Ashby's stuff is pretty spectacular, too. What do you think of the way he's going and the way they're using him and just, like, what his role might be? A multi-inning guy pitching the 8th and 9th? My thinking was sign me up for that, give Ashby the 9th, and then you got McGill and Uribe fresh for the series finale when you're going for the sweep.
Yeah, I wouldn't have totally disagreed with that. I think they are trying to, give Abner Uribe that closer role. I mean, it's clear they have switched that role over to Abner Uribe from Trevor McGill. And the Brewers have even made a little more of a closer entrance when he comes in now. You got a little more of an entrance for him. And unfortunately it just didn't work out for you. I'm fine going with Uribe last night, but the problem with it is it unfortunately the Brewers have, and we haven't seen this out of a Brewers team in a while, where they just have some games this year in this first month and a half, 2 months of the season where they're giving these leads up in the 9th inning, and we just don't see that. Whoever it is, McGill, Uribe, like we're just not used to seeing that. We're used to seeing all-star closers in Milwaukee, and we all know, the Hader to Williams to even, McGill being an all-star last year. Like these guys have been very consistent. And so to see inconsistency in that spot, you kind of in years past thought, okay, once you get to 7, 8, 9, you're in pretty good shape, even in a 1-0 lead. And last night just wasn't the case. Now, Uribe has been, I think, pretty good. I think he has the swagger of the closer. I think he has the mindset of the closer. And unfortunately, it didn't work out last night. A 1-run lead is tougher than, say, a 3-run lead when you're in a save situation. But boy, yeah, Aaron Ashby is a guy who can do it all. I mean, you saw him, I believe it was 9th and 10th against the Yankees on Saturday night. Like he is in those leveraged positions. Then I wouldn't be surprised if, matchups present themselves that they think Ashby is better than Uribe in that spot. Maybe you do see him in that. I mean, Ashby's just filthy. I mean, what he's making batters look like is just phenomenal. You're also seeing the way he can be used in multiple different roles. I also think the one of the interesting things we learned from Pat Murphy yesterday is they were talking about Chad Patrick a little bit, and he is a guy who was skipped in this rotation round. He pitched obviously twice out of the bullpen in the last 5 days. And Pat Murphy said that could kind of be his role. We know we can get length out of him, but will it be at the beginning of the game? Will it be in the middle of the game? Will it be at the end of the game? They kind of want to keep opponents off their toes when it comes to Chad Patrick. So he may end up getting a start here. Maybe even Saturday. We'll see once the probables come out, because they're going to need someone for Saturday, and who knows, he might be the guy, or it might be an opener for him. But it sounds like, and he kind of compared him to Ashby, saying, not necessarily the stuff level, but saying he could he emphasized kind of, be a, Aaron Ashby from the right side type of role that we see out of Chad Patrick moving forward, especially once Woody and Priester come back.
Makes some sense after how successful he was in the bullpen last year in the playoffs too, right?
Yeah.
Like to see it and see that you've been able to do it makes sense to take a swing at it. Any thought that you are looking to, skip Abner Uribe with an opportunity. I know he pitched back-to-back days, so probably unavailable today if you're in a save situation. Like Murph gave McGill a couple of opportunities. McGill's been not better, but maybe not still absolute nails to have any issue. Or do you think this is just a blip on the radar? And when you nearly decapitate your WBC teammate with the first pitch, was that just a doomed start or appearance from the start?
Yeah, that was yikes. Yeah, I think he will get the next save opportunity, like you said, provided it's not today, because I do think someone else will get it today. I mean, likely McGill. I mean, McGill's pitched leverage in the 8th inning, and they're not afraid to give him leverage. They just haven't given him that save opportunity quite yet. I do think Abner Uribe is the closer until further notice, but I do also think it is possible that if he struggles again, they could be looking at another problem. Man, it's tough because then you're in a spot where 2 guys have failed in that. Are you going to give it to a third guy? You're going to go to your first guy. Like somebody's got to take hold of this position. I do think Uribe can do it and is the most likely for that. And you're not going to have it's rare that you have a closer like a Mason Miller who's just dominant in every.
He's the exception. Yeah,
exactly. The Hader, the William, like those guys in their heydays, like those that is the exception. So I think we kind of have to get used to maybe there is a time or two where these guys are going to fall, unfortunately. But I do think Uribe is the guy moving forward, at least for now.
No matter what we think about in 2026, pitchers will give up runs.
No,
I mean, we just get locked in. Fans think they should never give up runs, and it will happen.
They do. It's true.
It's also interesting. Buster Olney had a great, really quick article about how this is a league-wide issue this year with instability at the closer position. And it's been, the Mason Miller is the exception to the rule, but most clubs that thought they had reliable closers are going through issues with their closer. Now, maybe that's just how, hey, we do the same with kickers in football. We look at them differently, like the ceiling, the floor increases for what we think the standard of performance should be. But there's more teams that have more guys in that role trying to get saves than normal.
That's right.
This year.
That's true. All right, Hunter, on the way out here, the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin injury report. Yelich plays one day, out the next. Is he truly day-to-day? It's now his back, not his adductor. Where are we with him, and what's the updates on Priester and some of the others, Zastryzny and some of the other guys coming back?
Yeah, that was very interesting with Yelich yesterday. A little behind the scenes. We were talking to Pat Murphy before the game, and about halfway through the lineup came out, and I kind of looked at it, and I kind of had to take like a double and triple check, like, okay, is this it? Wait, am I missing something here? Why isn't Yelich in there? So then right before the end of the press conference, I asked Murph and was like, are you trying to ease him back? Like, what's going on here? And he's like, no, he had a sore back after last night. And he's like, Yelich wants to play, but I'm not going to chance it here. He's basically like, I'm not going to listen to him on this one. Murphy's a very player's coach, but he also has that bone in his body to say, we're going to keep you out. We're going to make the best decision, long-term health, instead of a Wednesday night game in May. We're going to make sure you're ready for June and July, and hopefully August, September, and October. I do wonder, he didn't even pinch hit last night. I would think that the Gary Sanchez pinch hit for Ortiz in the 9th, I would think that would have been Yelich if Yelich was available to do so. So that worries me a little bit. We'll see, obviously, if he's in the lineup today here in a few hours. Murph does not have a pregame availability, so we won't get to hear from him before the game. But otherwise, that does worry me a little bit. But again, he was a month off from playing in a game. Yes, you can simulate baseball activities. Yes, you can be on the field hitting and everything like that, but nothing simulates an actual game. And I think that is maybe it just kind of came back. His body was like, whoa, what are you doing? And hopefully it tones back down as we move forward. But yeah, otherwise everything's about the same as Monday as far as, Priester is going to start for the Timber Rattlers Saturday. Woodruff was scheduled for a bullpen today, which is good. Rob Z has started his rehab assignment. So Koenig threw a bullpen earlier this week. So everybody's on the road. And I would say that maybe of those, Rob Z is probably the more likely to come back first.
OrthoWisconsin.com, Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference. Hunter Baumgardt, thanks for the update. Enjoy your day at the ballpark. Long day for you. Ballpark, and then Milwaukee's baseball tonight at 6 o'clock. Hunter, of course, brought to us by Import Minded.
Yes, absolutely. And just be careful if Jordan Schultz reports on a schedule release today. Hunter
Bears little director, producer down in Chicago saying that there might be a Bears-Packers Christmas Day game.
Might be.
I don't want anybody to be dead to you, but right now Bill Zimmerman is the one that's in the crosshairs if that's the case.
Yeah, they didn't get Thanksgiving, so I had a feeling maybe Christmas was on the docket. But yeah, it was last year that he said the Packers are playing. I think it was Christmas and not Thanksgiving, and then they ended up
flip that whole thing around.
It was and then they swapped the whole thing around, and at that point it was like, no, all right, that's it. I can't trust you, Jordan. Can't trust you.
Can't trust you. You're dead to me. Hunter,
Never beat him in a Starbucks.
Thanks for joining us, Hunter.
Thank you, guys.